The space around Jupiter bent and twisted like water going down a drain. Then, without warning, a ship appeared. It was huge, bigger than any space station humans had ever built. The ship looked like it was made of crystal, with surfaces that caught and reflected light in ways that hurt to look at directly. Commander Jack Morrison had been drinking coffee on the bridge of Earth's main defense station when the alarm started screaming. He dropped his cup and it shattered on the metal floor, but Jack didn't notice. His eyes were locked on the main screen, watching the impossible ship float through space toward Earth. "What is that thing?" asked Lieutenant Katie Moore, her voice shaking slightly. She had been working at the defense station for 5 years, but nothing in her training had prepared her for this. "I don't know," Jack answered honestly. He turned to his communications officer. "Send a message to Earth Command. Tell them we have visitors." The alien ship moved slowly, carefully. It wasn't trying to hide or attack. It just moved forward with purpose, like someone walking up to knock on a neighbor's door. The ship stopped near Mars, holding position as if waiting for something. 3 hours later, every important leader on Earth was watching their screens. Presidents, generals, and scientists all stared at the first proof that humans were not alone in the universe. Dr. Lisa Carter was among them. She was Earth's top expert on ancient ruins and mysterious artifacts. The government had pulled her from her dig site in Antarctica, flying her to the command center in record time. "They're sending a signal," the communications officer announced. Everyone in the room held their breath. The message came through in perfect English, Spanish, Mandarin, and 50 other Earth languages all at once. "We are the Krillians. We mean no harm. We have come to reclaim what was left behind." General Paul Rodriguez stood up from his chair. He was a tall man with gray hair and eyes that had seen too many battles. What did they leave behind, and when? Nobody had an answer. But Lisa Carter felt something stir in her memory. She had been studying strange structures buried deep in the Antarctic ice, structures that were older than any human civilization. Much older. The Krillians sent another message. "We request permission to send representatives to your planet. We wish to explain." The World Council argued for 6 hours. Some wanted to welcome the aliens with open arms. Others wanted to prepare for war. In the end, curiosity won. Humanity would meet the Krillians. The meeting place was chosen carefully. The International Space Station had been expanded over the years into a small city in orbit. It was neutral ground, not belonging to any single nation. If something went wrong, Earth itself would be safe. Jack Morrison was selected to be part of the greeting team. So were Lisa Carter, Ambassador Karen Phillips, and General Rodriguez. They put on their best dress uniforms and waited in the station's largest docking bay. The Krillian shuttle was small and elegant. It connected to the station without a sound. When the airlock opened, Jack forgot to breathe. The Krillians were beautiful and terrifying at the same time. They stood 8 feet tall, with long, thin bodies that moved like dancers. Their skin seemed to glow from within, shifting between blue and green like the ocean under moonlight. They had faces that were almost human, but their eyes were too, large and completely black. The first Krillian stepped forward. When it spoke, its mouth didn't move, but everyone heard its voice in their heads. "I am Seeker Prime. I speak for the Krillian Collective." Ambassador Phillips stepped forward, trying not to show her fear. "Welcome to Earth Space. I am Karen Phillips. I speak for humanity." Seeker Prime tilted its head, a gesture that seemed almost curious. "Humanity. Yes. You have grown much since we were last here." "When were you here?" Lisa Carter asked, unable to stop herself. 30,000 of your years ago." Seeker Prime replied. "During our great expansion, we explored this part of the galaxy. One of our survey ships suffered critical damage in your planet's orbit." The room fell silent. 30,000 years. When humans were still living in caves and hunting with stone tools, these beings had been traveling the stars, Seeker Prime continued. "Our crew had to abandon their ship. They buried it along with our supplies and technology, deep beneath what you now call Antarctica. They barely escaped in emergency pods, leaving behind items of great value to our people. Lisa's heart raced. The structures she had been studying, the ones that made no sense, the ones that couldn't possibly be human-made, they were alien. They were Krillian. "You want us to give them back," General Rodriguez said. It wasn't a question. "Yes," Seeker Prime answered simply. "Our technology does not belong in primitive—" I apologize. "In developing civilizations. It can cause great harm if misused." Jack noticed something in the alien's tone. Was it embarrassment? Did these beings feel emotions like humans did? "There's a problem," Lisa said slowly. "We've built a city over that area. New Arcadia. 200,000 people live there." Seeker Prime's glow shifted to a deeper blue. "That is unfortunate, but the technology must be recovered. The ship contains a quantum processor capable of manipulating space and time. In the wrong hands, it could destroy your entire solar system." The humans exchanged worried looks. Karen. Phillips tried to keep her voice steady. "Surely we can work something out. Humanity has laws about property and—" "Your laws do not apply to us," Seeker Prime interrupted, but not unkindly. "However, we are not conquerors. We will give you time to evacuate your city. We will even help relocate your people. But we must have our technology back." "What else is down there?" Lisa asked. "You mentioned supplies." "Many things, but most importantly, a Genesis archive. It contains the complete genetic patterns of 10,000 species from across the galaxy. Many of these species are now extinct. The archive is priceless, irreplaceable." Jack did the math in his head. If the Krillians had been traveling the galaxy for at least 30,000 years, their technology was so far advanced that Earth's defenses would be useless. If they wanted to take their ship by force, humanity couldn't stop them. The fact that they were talking instead of taking was a good sign. "We need to discuss this with our leaders," Karen said diplomatically. "This affects all of humanity." "Of course," Seeker Prime agreed. "We have waited 30,000 years. We can wait a few more of your days, but understand, we will not leave without what is ours." As the Krillians returned to their ship, Jack watched them go with mixed feelings. First contact with an alien species was supposed to be humanity's greatest moment. Instead, it felt like the beginning of something complicated and potentially dangerous. Lisa pulled Jack aside. "I need to get back to Antarctica immediately." "Why?" Jack asked. "Because I think we've already found some of their technology," she whispered. "We've been studying it for years. We just didn't know what it was." Jack's eyes widened. If humanity had already been messing with alien technology without knowing it, this situation was about to get much more complicated. As Earth's leaders began emergency meetings and the news spread across the planet, one thing was clear. Humanity's place in the universe had changed forever. They were no longer alone, and their new neighbors had come to collect a very old debt. The question was, what would it cost humanity to pay it? The United Nations building in New York had never been so crowded. Every nation on Earth had sent representatives. Scientists, military leaders, and diplomats filled every seat and lined the walls. Outside, millions of people gathered in the streets watching on huge screens as humanity decided its future. Ambassador Karen Phillips stood at the podium looking tired but determined. She had spent the last 3 days without sleep, preparing for the most important negotiation in human history. "The Krillians have been patient," she began, her voice carrying across the silent room. "But they want their property back. The problem is New Arcadia. We can't just abandon a city of 200,000 people." The president of the Antarctic Coalition, where New Arcadia was located, stood up. "My people have lived there for 3 generations. It's not just a city. It's their home. The aliens don't care about our homes," General Rodriguez said bluntly. "They have technology that could destroy us all. We should be grateful they're even talking to us." Dr. Lisa Carter raised her hand. "I have something important to share." She walked to the front carrying a tablet with images. "For the past 10 years, my team has been studying artifacts from the Antarctic site. We always assumed they were from an ancient human civilization we hadn't discovered yet. We were wrong." She showed images of strange metal objects, crystals, that glowed without power, and machines with no moving parts. We've been studying Krillian technology this whole time, and more importantly, we've been learning from it. The room erupted in voices. Lisa raised her hand for quiet. Some of our biggest breakthroughs in the last decade came from reverse engineering these artifacts. Our new fusion reactors, the magnetic shields protecting our space stations, even some of our medical scanners, they're all based on Krillian technology. So we're thieves, someone shouted from the back. We didn't know, Lisa replied firmly. We found abandoned technology and learned from it. That's what humans do. We adapt, we learn, we grow. Karen Phillips saw an opportunity. This changes our negotiating position. We're not just sitting on their buried ship. We've integrated their technology into our society. The next day, the human delegation met with the Krillians again. This time, the meeting was on Earth, in a specially prepared facility in Iceland. The Krillians had agreed to come to the planet's surface, a sign of trust that wasn't lost on anyone. Seeker Prime entered with 2 other Krillians. They moved like water, smooth and flowing. The conference room had been modified with special lights that the Krillians said would make them more comfortable. The result was an underwater effect, with waves of blue-green light rippling across the walls. We have a proposal, Karen began. Humanity has unknowingly been using some of your technology. We've built our recent advancement on it. Simply taking it back would cripple our development. Seeker Prime's large black eyes showed no emotion. You used technology that was not yours. We didn't know it was yours, Karen responded. Under human law, abandoned property. We did not abandon it, Seeker Prime interrupted. We buried it for later retrieval. Dr. Amy Chen, a young scientist who had been studying the artifacts, spoke up. With respect, 30,000 years is a long time. No one could have known you would return. The second Krillian, who had been introduced as Memory Keeper, leaned forward. Time moves differently for us. 30,000 years is not so long, when your species lives for millennia. Everyone in the room froze. These beings lived for thousands of years. No wonder they had such advanced technology. However, Memory Keeper continued, we understand your position. You developed naturally, alongside our technology. This creates a unique situation. General Rodriguez saw an opening. What if we work together? We help you recover your ship and the Genesis archive, and you help us understand the technology we've been using? Seeker Prime exchanged what looked like glances with the other Krillians, though with their solid black eyes, it was hard to tell. The Genesis archive is crucial. It contains species that no longer exist anywhere else in the universe. We cannot leave without it. We understand, Karen said, but evacuating New Arcadia will take months, maybe years. We need time. Time you have, Seeker Prime said. But we must be certain of your cooperation. Captain Frank Davis from the Engineering Corps had been quiet until now. I've been looking at the scans of the burial site. The ship is deep, really, deep. It's under 2 miles of ice and rock. Getting it out without damaging it or the city above will be incredibly difficult. We have the technology to extract it safely, the third Krillian, called Builder of Ways, finally spoke. But we need human cooperation. Your people must not interfere. Lisa had been studying her tablet. I have a question. Our scans show that parts of the ship seem to be active, still powered after all this time. The Krillians went very still. Seeker Prime's glow shifted to a darker color. That should not be possible. The ship's power core was supposed to be in hibernation. Well, it's not, Lisa said, showing them the energy readings. It's been leaking radiation for centuries, possibly millennia. The room temperature seemed to drop. Memory Keeper stood up, towering over the humans. If the containment has been breached, your entire planet is in danger. What kind of danger? Rodriguez demanded. The power core uses quantum entanglement to draw energy from parallel dimensions, Builder of Ways explained. If it's been leaking, it could have been affecting your planet's development in unpredictable ways. Amy Chen's eyes widened. The magnetic anomalies we've detected, The strange weather patterns over Antarctica, the accelerated evolution of certain species in that region. It's all connected to your ship? Possibly, Seeker Prime admitted. We must investigate immediately. Karen saw both opportunity and danger. We'll give you full access to the site, but we work together. Our scientists work with yours. We need to understand what's been happening to our planet. The Krillians huddled, together their glows shifting and pulsing in what seemed to be a form of communication. Finally, Seeker Prime turned back to the humans. Agreed. But understand, if the core is critically damaged, we may need to act quickly. The safety of your planet depends on it. Over the next week, human and Krillian scientists worked side by side. It was awkward at first. The Krillians' technology was so advanced that they had to constantly slow down and explain things in terms humans could understand. But gradually, a working relationship developed. Dr. Jake Thompson, a geneticist, made the first major discovery. The radiation from your ship, it's been affecting human DNA. Memory Keeper examined his data. These mutations, they're not random. They follow Krillian enhancement patterns. What does that mean? Jake asked. It means, Memory Keeper said slowly, that your species has been evolving under the influence of our technology. You're not entirely natural humans anymore. You're something new. The implications were staggering. Humanity's rapid technological advancement, their unusual creativity, even their ability to adapt to extreme environments. All of it might have been influenced by alien radiation, but Lisa made an even more shocking discovery in the historical records. There are legends, she said during one late-night session. Stories from indigenous peoples about sky beings who came down and lived among them. Gods who taught them agriculture, mathematics, astronomy. Seeker Prime studied the ancient texts she showed him. These descriptions, they could be Krillians. Your crew, Lisa said excitedly. The ones who buried the ship. What if some of them survived? What if they didn't all leave? The possibility hung in the air like electricity. If some Krillians had stayed on Earth, if they had lived among early humans, then the connection between the two species was deeper than anyone had imagined. We need genetic samples, Memory Keeper said urgently, from your population. If Krillians bred with humans, there would be markers. The testing began immediately. Volunteers from around the world gave DNA samples. The results came back within days, and they changed everything. 3% of humans carried dormant Krillian genetic markers. Not enough to be obvious, but enough to matter. The Krillians hadn't just influenced human evolution from afar, they had become part of it. Seeker Prime stood before the assembled human leaders, his glow shifting through colors humans had no names for. This changes the nature of our negotiation. You are not strangers who found our technology. You are, in part, our descendants. The room was silent as the weight of this revelation sank in. Humanity wasn't just another species that had stumbled upon alien technology. They were connected to the Krillians by blood, by evolution, by 30,000 years of hidden history. So what happens now? Karen asked. Now, Seeker Prime said, we must decide together what to do with the technology. That belongs to both of us. The excavation site in Antarctica was unlike anything humans had built before. Krillian technology created a perfect dome of warmth in the frozen wasteland, allowing human and alien scientists to work together comfortably. The ice had been carefully melted and removed, revealing the ancient Krillian ship beneath. Dr. Lisa Carter stood at the edge of the massive pit, staring down at the alien vessel. Even damaged and buried for 30,000 years, it was beautiful. The ship looked like it had been grown rather than built, with smooth curves and no visible seams. It's bigger than we thought, said Captain Frank Davis, the lead engineer on the project. At least 3 times the size of our biggest aircraft carrier. Seeker Prime floated down into the pit using some kind of gravity-defying technology. This was a colony ship, he explained to the humans gathered around. It carried 10,000 Krillians and everything needed to establish a new world. 10,000? Lisa gasped. But you said only a few escaped. That is what our records showed, Memory Keeper replied, his glow flickering with what might have been confusion. But now, seeing the ship, I am not certain. The team descended into the pit using a combination of human elevators and Krillian floating platforms. As they got closer to the ship, their instruments started going crazy. The radiation levels are increasing, Dr. Jake Thompson warned, checking his scanner. But it's not harmful. It's actually similar to the background radiation that exists naturally on Earth now. Builder of Ways touched the ship's hull, and a door appeared where there had been solid metal. The ship recognizes me, he said, surprised. The systems are still partially active. They entered the ship, humans and Krillians together. The inside was even more amazing than the outside. The walls seemed to be alive, pulsing with soft light. The corridors were tall and wide, designed for beings larger than humans. This way, Seeker Prime led them deeper into the ship. The core should be in the center. As they walked, Lisa noticed something strange. There are human touches here, she said, pointing to markings on the walls. Those symbols aren't Krillian. They look like early human writing. Memory Keeper examined them closely. You are correct. These were made after the crash. They reached the core room and everyone stopped in shock. The power core, a massive crystal structure that should have been dormant, was pulsing with energy. But that wasn't the shocking part. Around it were human skeletons, dozens of them arranged in what looked like a ceremonial pattern. What happened here? Whispered Amy Chen. Dr. Jake Thompson scanned the bones. These are old, really old, maybe 20,000 years. But one skeleton was different. It was taller, with an elongated skull and extra fingers. It was wearing what looked like a blend of primitive human clothing and advanced alien material. A hybrid, Memory Keeper said softly. A child of both species. Seeker Prime approached the core carefully. The radiation leak wasn't an accident. Someone modified the core to leak slowly, deliberately. Why would anyone do that? General Rodriguez asked. To change the environment, Builder of Ways realized. To make Earth more suitable for hybrid offspring. The implications hit everyone at once. The Krillians who had stayed behind hadn't just survived. They had actively worked to change Earth and humanity, creating a new species that was part of both. Lisa found a control panel that was still working. With Seeker Prime's help, she accessed the ship's logs. What they found rewrote history. Dorsey, ship hadn't crashed. It had been sabotaged by part of its own crew. A group of Krillians had fallen in love with Earth and its primitive but promising inhabitants. They had decided to stay, to guide human evolution, to create something new. They called it the Integration Protocol. Memory Keeper read from the logs. They wanted to create a species that combined Krillian intelligence with human adaptability and creativity. They succeeded, Jake said, looking at his genetic data. Modern humans are the result. But there was more. The Genesis archive, the precious genetic library the Krillians had come to retrieve, had also been modified. The Krillian rebels had added human DNA to it, along with Earth species. They had mixed the genetic patterns, creating new combinations that existed nowhere else in the universe. This is why human evolution accelerated so quickly, Amy realized. The radiation from the core was carrying genetic information, slowly integrating it into Earth's biosphere. Seeker Prime's glow had turned deep purple, a color the humans had learned meant deep distress. This is illegal by our laws. Contaminating. A primitive species changing their evolution. The crew members who did this were criminals. They were pioneers, Lisa countered. They saw potential in humanity and helped us reach it. You don't understand, Seeker Prime said. If the Krillian Collective learns about this, they might decide to cleanse Earth entirely. To remove the contamination. The room went cold. Cleanse? Rodriguez asked, though he was afraid he already knew the answer. Destroy all life and start over, Memory Keeper confirmed. It has been done before when contamination was too severe. But we're not contamination, Frank protested. We're a successful merger of two species. We're something new and valuable. Builder of Ways was examining the core more closely. There's something else. The core isn't just leaking randomly, it's following a program. The integration protocol is still running. Still running? Lisa asked. After 30,000 years? It's almost complete, Builder said, reading the data. Perhaps another 100 of your years and the transformation of your species would be finished. Transformation into what? Karen Phillips had just arrived at the site, having flown in from New York. Into beings capable of joining the galactic community as equals, Memory Keeper said slowly. The rebels didn't just want to create hybrids. They wanted to create a species that could bridge the gap between Krillians and other younger races. They found more records deeper in the ship. Videos of the Krillian rebels, their messages to the future. One showed a Krillian female, her glow soft and warm. "If you are watching this," she said in perfect English, though the recording was 30,000 years old, "then our plan has succeeded. Humans and Krillians have found each other again. You who watch this are our children, born of two species, but belonging fully to neither. You are something new, something we believe the universe needed." The video continued. The collective thinks in terms of preservation and purity, but we have learned from humans that mixing, changing, adapting is how species truly survive and thrive. You are proof of this. Another video showed a Krillian male with a human woman. They were holding a child that looked mostly human but with slightly larger eyes and longer fingers. "Our daughter," the Krillian said. "The first of many. She will live and die long before you see this, but her descendants will carry both our legacies forward." Jake cross-referenced the genetic markers. "I found her line. Her descendants. They spread across Asia and Europe. Millions of people today carry her genes." The team spent days in the ship, uncovering more secrets. They found laboratories where the Krillian rebels had worked to adapt Earth crops to be more nutritious. They found teaching chambers where early humans had been shown mathematics and astronomy. They found medical bays where human diseases had been studied and cures developed that were then shared as shamanic knowledge. "They didn't conquer or control," Lisa said in wonder. "They guided and nurtured. They became part of human mythology, our gods and teachers, then faded into legend." But the biggest discovery was yet to come. In the ship's command center, they found a message addressed to the Krillian collective, sealed and waiting for 30,000 years. Seeker Prime opened it with shaking hands. The message was from the rebel leader, someone called Pathmaker. "To my people," the message began. "By the time you receive this, the experiment will be complete. Humans will have become something unprecedented. Not Krillian, not primitive, but a perfect fusion of intuition and intelligence, creativity and wisdom. They are our greatest creation and our redemption for ages of stagnation. Do not judge them by our laws. Judge them by their potential. They are the future we could not imagine for ourselves." The message included vast amounts of data about human development, their achievements, their unique approach to problems. It, too, showed how human creativity had solved issues that had stumped Krillians for millennia. Seeker Prime was quiet for a long time after the message ended. Finally, he spoke. "We must return to the collective with this information. This changes everything." "Will they accept us?" Karen asked. "Or will they destroy us?" "I don't know," Seeker Prime admitted. "But you have allies now. We three have seen what you are, what you've become. We will speak for you," Memory Keeper added. "The Genesis archive is more valuable now than ever. It contains not just extinct species, but the birth of a new form of life, the merger of Krillian and human, guided evolution at its finest." "But the choice is yours," Builder of Ways said. "The ship still works. The core can be stabilized or shut down. You can complete the integration protocol or stop it. You can become fully what the rebels intended, or remain as you are." The weight of the decision was staggering. Humanity had just learned that their entire evolution had been guided, that they were part alien, that their future had been planned 30,000 years ago. Now they had to decide whether to accept that plan or forge their own. 3 weeks had passed since the discovery in Antarctica. The world was still trying to process the truth about humanity's origins when the Krillians made an announcement that changed everything. Seeker Prime stood before the United Nations, his tall form glowing with shifting blues and greens. The collective has responded to our report. They are sending an evaluation team. Humanity will be tested. President Alan Foster of the United States stood up. Tested? What kind of test? You know, must prove that the merger of our species has created something valuable, not an abomination, Seeker Prime explained. If you fail, the collective will vote on whether to quarantine Earth permanently or... He paused, his glow dimming. Or cleanse it. The room erupted in angry voices, but General Rodriguez's booming command brought silence. What exactly does this test involve? Memory Keeper stepped forward. You must help us repair the damaged ship using both human and Krillian methods. You must show that your hybrid nature brings something new to the galaxy, not just a corruption of what exists. When? Asked Dr. Lisa Carter. The evaluation team arrives in 7 days, Builder of Ways answered. We must have significant progress to show them. The next day, the Antarctic site became the busiest place on Earth. Engineers, scientists, and workers from every nation gathered to help. The Krillians provided technology and knowledge while humans brought their creativity and determination. Katie Moore, now promoted to chief engineer, stood in the ship's engine room with Builder of Ways. The massive power core pulsed erratically, its light flickering between colors. According to our protocols, Builder explained, we should shut it down completely, remove it, and install a new one. It would take 6 months. Katie studied the core, walking around it slowly. What if we don't shut it down? What if we repair it while it's running? Builder's glow shifted to what humans had learned was surprise. That's impossible. The energy discharge would destroy anyone who tried. Not if we create a rotating shield. System, Katie said, already sketching on her tablet. We use your containment field technology, but we modify it with our magnetic field generators. Create pockets of safe space that move with the repair crews. Builder studied her design. This is insane. No Krillian would ever attempt this. That's because you follow protocols, Katie grinned. Humans improvise. Meanwhile, Dr. Jake Thompson worked with Memory Keeper on the Genesis archive. The genetic database had been corrupted by 30,000 years of Earth's magnetic field, but it also contained new combinations that had never existed before. These mutations, Memory Keeper said, examining the data, they should have destroyed the archive. Instead, they've created new, viable species patterns. Earth life is adaptable, Jake explained. Our DNA is built to change, to survive. When it mixed with your archived patterns, it didn't corrupt them, it enhanced them. Show me, Memory Keeper demanded. Jake pulled up a specific file. This was originally a Krillian archive of a plant species from your homeworld. But look at it, now. The genetic pattern had merged with Earth plant DNA, creating something that could theoretically survive in both environments. This is unprecedented, Memory Keeper whispered. A universal species, able to thrive in multiple biospheres. In New Arcadia, the city above the buried ship, another kind of test was taking place. The citizens had refused to evacuate completely, but they had agreed to help. Led by Mayor Sam Wright, they turned their city into a support base for the repair efforts. We are not abandoning our home, Sam told Seeker Prime, but we'll share it. Your people and ours working together. It was harder than anyone expected. Krillians needed different atmosphere conditions, different food, different everything. But humans did what humans do best. They adapted and made it work. Restaurants started serving food both species could eat. Hotels modified rooms to accommodate 8-foot-tall beings who liked to float instead of walk. On the 4th day, disaster struck. Captain Bill Harper was monitoring the core when alarms started screaming. The core is going critical. Everyone, out. But Katie Moore didn't run. She ran toward the core with her equipment. We can fix this. Builder, I need your help. Builder of Ways hesitated. Every Krillian instinct told him to evacuate, to follow safety protocols. But he had been working with humans for weeks now. He had seen their strange courage, their refusal to give up. He floated to Katie's side. What do you need? Create a containment field here, she pointed. I'm going to redirect the energy overflow through the ship's hull into the ice. That will electrify the entire area. Better than exploding, Katie shot back, already working. They worked together, human hands and Krillian technology combining, in ways neither species had imagined. Katie's solution was crude by Krillian standards, but it worked. The energy dissipated harmlessly into the Antarctic ice, creating a brief aurora that was visible from space. Dr. Nancy Foster, who had been documenting everything, turned to Seeker Prime. That's what humans bring to the table. We don't always do things the right way, but we find a way. The fifth day brought a breakthrough. Lisa and her team had been studying the integration protocol and found something amazing. The protocol isn't just about genetics, she explained to the gathered team. It's about consciousness. The Krillian rebels found a way to merge our thinking patterns. She showed brain scans of humans working with Krillians. Look at this. When we work together, our brains synchronize. Humans become more logical. Krillians become more creative. We literally think better together. Memory Keeper was fascinated. This explains why your solutions work. You're not thinking like humans or Krillians. You're thinking like something new. On the sixth day, they had their biggest test yet. The Genesis Archive's containment system failed completely. Genetic material from millions of species was about to be released into Earth's environment. The contamination would be catastrophic. We need to evacuate the planet, one of the Krillians from the ship said. This is beyond repair. No, Jake, Thompson said firmly. We can fix this. He gathered his team, both human and Krillian. We're going to use the contamination to our advantage. Instead of trying to contain everything, we're going to create a controlled release. That's insane, Memory Keeper said. That's human, Jake replied. We're going to use the ship's biofilters to process the genetic material as it releases. Transform it into something harmless, maybe even beneficial. It was the most complex operation they had attempted. It required perfect coordination between human intuition and Krillian precision. Dr. Amy Chen worked directly with Memory Keeper, their minds linked through Krillian technology. For 12 hours they worked without stopping. When a Krillian protocol said something was impossible, a human found a workaround. When human emotion threatened to overwhelm logic, Krillian calm provided balance. Finally, as the sun rose on the seventh day, it was done. The Genesis archive was stable. More than that, it had been enhanced. The controlled contamination had created new genetic combinations that could help restore extinct Earth species and even improve current ones. The evaluation team arrived exactly on schedule. 3 ships, each larger than Seeker Prime's vessel, appeared in orbit. The beings that emerged were older, more powerful Krillians. Their leader, who called himself the Adjudicator, was ancient even by Krillian standards. The Adjudicator toured the repair site, saying nothing. He examined the modified core, the enhanced Genesis archive, the hybrid city of New Arcadia, where humans and Krillians were learning to live together. Finally, he spoke. Show me the ship functioning. This was the moment everyone had been preparing for. Katie Moore and Builder of Ways had worked without sleep to get the ship's engines online. The ancient vessel, buried for 30,000 years, needed to fly again. Initiating startup sequence, Katie announced. The ship hummed to life. Lights that had been dark for millennia blazed bright. Slowly, impossibly, the massive vessel began to rise from its icy grave. But something went wrong. The rear stabilizer, weakened by age, began to crack. The ship tilted dangerously. Shut it down, the Adjudicator commanded. No, Frank Davis said. We can fix this. Katie, redirect power to the forward generators. Jake, we need that biometal. Patch now. Humans and Krillians worked as one. There were no protocols for this situation, no established procedures. They were making it up as they went, combining technologies and techniques that had never been combined before. The ship stabilized. More than that, it flew better than it had originally. The human modifications had improved Krillian design. The adjudicator was silent for a long moment. Then, his glow shifted to a color none of them had seen before. Pure white. In 30,000 years of recorded history, he said, no species has ever successfully merged with another to create something greater. You have done the impossible. He turned to the assembled crowd of humans and Krillians. But this is not enough. You have shown you can work together in crisis. Now you must show you can grow together in peace. The real test is not today. It is the next 100 years. Seeker Prime stepped forward. What is the collective's decision? Earth will be given provisional status, the adjudicator announced. Not as a Krillian colony or a human world, but as something new. A hybrid world, the first of its kind. You will have 100 Earth years to prove this merger is stable and beneficial. 5 years had passed since the adjudicator's visit. The world had changed in ways no one could have predicted. Cities around the globe now had Krillian districts where the tall, glowing beings lived and worked alongside humans. The Antarctic site had become the center of a new international city called Unity, built around the restored Krillian ship. Dr. Lisa Carter, now Director of Human Krillian Relations, stood in the command center of the ship, which had been transformed into a research station. Beside her, Seeker Prime studied the latest reports from around the world. The integration is proceeding faster than expected, Seeker Prime noted, his glow shifting through pleased colors. Your species adapts remarkably quickly, Lisa smiled. It helps that the younger generation doesn't see anything strange about it. To kids born in the last 5 years, having 8-foot-tall glowing neighbors is just normal. Through the windows, they could see children playing in Unity's Central Park. Human and hybrid children ran together, some showing the subtle signs of their Krillian heritage. Slightly larger eyes, a faint glow to their skin in certain light, unusual grace in their movements. The hybrids are the key, Memory Keeper said, entering the room. They prove the merger is not just possible but beneficial. Dr. Jake Thompson had spent years studying these children. They were smarter than average humans, more creative than pure Krillians, and seemed to instinctively understand both technologies. More importantly, they could serve as bridges between the two species, understanding both ways of thinking. In the engineering section, Katie Moore and Builder of Ways had made breakthrough after breakthrough. Their latest creation was a ship that combined human and Krillian technology in ways that surpassed both. We call it the Pioneer, Katie explained to a group of visiting dignitaries. It can travel faster than Krillian ships while using less energy than human vessels. The hybrid technology is actually more efficient than either original design. The ship was beautiful in its strangeness. It had the flowing, organic look of Krillian design, but with human additions. Windows where Krillians would never put them, because humans needed to see outside. Manual controls alongside mental interfaces. Redundant systems that Krillians considered unnecessary, but humans insisted on. Captain Sam Wright had been chosen to command the Pioneer on its first interstellar voyage. We're not just exploring space, he said at the launch ceremony. We're showing the galaxy what humanity and Krillians can accomplish together. The Genesis Archive had become the center of another revolution. Dr. Amy Chen led a team that was using the merged genetic patterns to restore extinct Earth species and heal damaged ecosystems. But more importantly, they were creating new organisms that could survive on other worlds. We're not terraforming planets to be like Earth, Amy explained to a documentary crew. We're creating life that can thrive in alien environments. Life that carries both Earth and Krillian heritage. The first test had been on Mars. Using modified organisms from the Genesis Archive, they had begun creating an atmosphere. Not an Earth atmosphere or a Krillian one, but something new that both species could eventually inhabit with minimal life support. But not everything was smooth. There were those on both sides who resisted the merger. Some humans feared losing their identity, while some Krillians worried about contaminating their pure heritage. The crisis came when a radical human group tried to destroy the Antarctic ship, believing it was corrupting humanity. They were stopped, but not before damaging some of the critical systems. The repair effort became a defining moment. Humans and Krillians worked together not because they had to, but because they wanted to. The ship wasn't just Krillian property anymore. It belonged to both species. General Rodriguez, now in charge of Earth's combined defense forces, had overseen the creation of mixed units. Human soldiers trained with Krillian warriors, each learning from the other. Krillians are stronger and have better technology, Rodriguez explained to his troops. But humans are unpredictable and adaptable. Together, we're unbeatable. This was proven when pirates from another species tried to raid Earth's new orbital stations. The combined human-Krillian defense force responded with tactics the raiders had never encountered. Krillian precision mixed with human chaos, advanced technology used in ways that defied conventional logic. The pirates were defeated so quickly, that word spread through the galaxy. Earth was not a soft target. Meanwhile, the integration protocol that had been running for 30,000 years reached its conclusion. The final changes were subtle, but profound. Humans found they could partially interface with Krillian technology through thought. Krillians discovered they could experience human emotions like humor and spontaneous joy. Dr. Nancy Foster documented these changes. "We're becoming one species," she wrote. Not human, not Krillian, but something new, something the universe has never seen before. The transformation wasn't just biological. Human art and Krillian science merged to create new forms of expression. Musicians created symphonies that could only be fully appreciated by beings who could see the colors Krillians saw and hear the sounds humans heard. Artists painted with light itself, creating works that shifted and changed based on the viewer's genetic heritage. Even language evolved. A new form of communication developed that combined human speech with Krillian light patterns. Children learned it naturally, while adults struggled but persevered. 10 years after first contact, the adjudicator returned. This time, he brought representatives from other species in the collective. They came to see the miracle that was Earth. What they found exceeded all expectations. Unity had grown into a metropolis that sprawled across Antarctica, kept warm by Krillian technology but designed with human aesthetics. The restored ship at its center had become a symbol of cooperation, its mixed crew of humans and Krillians working on projects that benefited both species. The adjudicator toured the new Earth with Lisa and Seeker Prime. They showed him schools, where human and Krillian children learned together, hospitals where medical techniques from both species saved lives that neither could save alone, and laboratories where hybrid technology was pushing the boundaries of what was possible. "This is unprecedented," the adjudicator admitted, his glow shifting through colors of amazement. "In 10 years, you've achieved what we thought would take centuries." But the real test came when he met the hybrid children, now teenagers. They were something entirely new. Beings who could think like both species simultaneously. They could follow Krillian logic while maintaining human intuition. They could see possibilities that neither parent species could imagine. One of them, a girl, named Maria with slightly luminescent skin and remarkably large eyes, spoke to the adjudicator. "We're not half human and half Krillian," she said. "We're fully both and something more. We're the future." The adjudicator spent time with these children, testing their capabilities. They could operate Krillian technology instinctively, while improving it with human creativity. They could solve problems that had stumped both species for generations. "They're not just successful hybrids," Memory Keeper told the adjudicator. "They're an evolutionary leap forward." The final evaluation took place in Earth's orbit. The Pioneer, under Captain Wright's command, demonstrated the capabilities of hybrid technology. The ship performed maneuvers that should have been impossible, combining Krillian phase shifting with human improvisational piloting. But more impressive was the crew. Humans and Krillians worked together seamlessly, no longer as two species cooperating, but as one unified team. They had developed an efficiency that surpassed either species alone. The adjudicator called for a gathering in Unity's Great Hall. Representatives from Earth and dozens of alien species filled the massive space. The moment of judgment had arrived. 100 years, the adjudicator began, was the time we gave you to prove the merger was stable. You have done so in 10. He paused, his glow cycling through formal patterns. The collective has voted. Earth is not to be a member of our alliance. Instead, you are to be its new leaders. Gasps echoed through the hall. Seeker Prime's glow showed his shock. Leaders, but we're the youngest species in the collective. No, the adjudicator corrected. Humans are young, Krillians are old, but what you've become together is timeless. You have shown the galaxy that evolution doesn't end, that species can grow beyond their origins. He turned to address everyone. The hybrid children born on Earth will be ambassadors to all worlds. They will teach the merger, not of genetics, but of ideas, cultures, and dreams. Earth will be the model for a new kind of civilization. President Foster, now an elderly man but still sharp, stood up. We're honored, but we're not ready to lead anyone. We're still learning ourselves. That's exactly why you must lead, the adjudicator replied. Because you know you're still learning. The collective has been stagnant, each species isolated in their perfection. You've shown us that imperfection, combination, and change are the true paths forward. The ceremony that followed was broadcast across the galaxy. Earth was recognized not as a human world or a Krillian colony, but as the first hybrid world. The Genesis archive was expanded to include genetic material from every species that chose to contribute, making Earth the guardian of the galaxy's biological heritage.